went through, which are very similar to the ones that we have right now here, and how they were able to overcome it and how long it took them to overcome it. So it's not something that is tomorrow you're going to have bike lanes galore all over the place. It's something that we need to progressively start thinking about and progressively start implementing. So without further ado, I'll present to you together Michael. Yes. Can you turn on the lights? Thank you. All right, let's roll. Opnieuw komt het tot een hevige botsing tussen.
Well, is this cycling paradise? I think that what makes this very different from other cities is that it's a social practice. That's to me, you cycle together, you talk, and there are very few places in the world where you don't cycle alone, but you cycle in groups, and where cycling sets the pace for other traffic, including pedestrians, but also for cars. There are very few places left in the city after a long struggle where cyclists do not determine the speed with which other traffic travels. So we have to understand when I grew up, I still remember that bicycles were really not supposed to be on the streets. There were cars everywhere. And it was almost, it could have happened another way. The tipping point was there. So why did the Netherlands really preserve the cycling cultures where in other countries where they had it, sort of lost it?
Yeah, I got from day one involved. I lived here in Amsterdam, not that far from the Rijksmuseum, and traffic in the 70s was growing. You know, the economy was growing, so you saw more and more traffic, and there were a lot of schools in the neighborhood. And I had young children. I had one in the beginning, later on a second one, and I noticed the accidents. You know, it was clear that children on their way to school had a huge risk. And if you have a small child, you realize, okay, that's also the responsibility I have as a mother of children to guarantee their safety.
Wat wilt u nou eigenlijk?
We willen afsluiting van de Ferdinand Bolstraat. Dat is duidelijk. Levensgevaarlijke straat. Vele slachtoffers per jaar. Het hoogste aantal slachtoffers is op dit punt.
Wat denkt u wat u hiermee bereikt dan?
Dat de gemeente werkelijk, dit ligt een plan om de straat af te sluiten. Maar de betreffende wethouder houdt het tegen en de actiegroep Stop Kindermoord met de buurt zet zich erachter om de straat afgesloten te krijgen.
Ja, maar wat denkt u wat u met deze chaos op dit moment bereikt?
De aandacht, dat is het belangrijkste. Gewoon de aandacht. En daarmee hopen we dat mensen er werkelijk van de ernst in overtuigd, want het is hier iedere keer raak. Het zijn altijd bejaarden en kinderen die het slachtoffer zijn en dat nemen we niet meer. Er moet gewoon wat gebeuren en dat kunnen we niet afwachten.
And in fact, it was also a plea for taking back the street to pedestrians, to playing children, to give us back part of the street. It was taken from the pedestrians and playing children by the traffic.
Worldwide, everywhere, there were plans for automobility and urban highways. And in the 1950s and 1960s, they were on the drawing board, but it was only 1970s that people really saw what that meant. So whole neighborhoods were scheduled to be torn down and highways were being built. And it is that point that people rose up. And this was in The Hague, in Rotterdam, in Amsterdam, but also in New York. So it's a worldwide phenomenon. It was about what should cities be? And Jane Jacobs, the very famous urban planner, said cities are not for cars, they're for people. And so there was a very broadly shared idea. And so it came together, the point of resistance, as well as these grand plans to bulldozer over Amsterdam. And that sparked a movement, a very potent movement. And if they had been there 5 years later, we would have a very different city. This city would be like an American city, divided by a urban highways. It has so many cities around the world. So it is, it was in the nick of time that this happened. And it was part of a political struggle and not something magic that came out of nowhere or some Dutch DNA, that we are born with this vision about cycling. No, it was actually a very ordinary, hard political struggle. And not only in that time, but it has continued to do so. Maybe not as visible, but every inch on the street is a contested terrain.
Maar een van de ellendigste dingen van een verkeerswethouder is wel dat die mensen bij zich krijgt die zeggen: meneer, het is ontzettend druk bij de school, u moet er wat aan doen, het is gevaarlijk voor onze kinderen. Dus je zegt, nou, dat kan wel, moeten we de straat een beetje smaller maken, of we moeten er een drempel in leggen, of we moeten het misschien zelfs verbieden voor auto's. Dan heb je binnen 24 uur heb je uit dezelfde buurt de mensen die zeggen van, ja, maar was dat nou, is toch een mooie brede weg, dan moet je toch hard kunnen rijden. Met andere woorden, mensen vragen van de overheid veiligheid, maar beseffen niet dat een belangrijk deel van die veiligheid gewoon afhangt van wat mensen in een wijk bereid zijn op te brengen. Ik heb het wel eens heel cru tegen mensen gezegd, jullie rijden eigenlijk met je eigen auto's, je eigen kinderen dood. En als je dat nou eens besefte, dan zouden we misschien in jullie wijk een fatsoenlijk parkeerplan en een verkeersplan kunnen maken. Wat ontzettende toestand is, dat als mensen werkelijk de fiets pakken, dat ze een soort slalom moeten rijden door de binnenstad, dwars tussen de auto's en de bussen door. Daar willen we echt iets aan doen nu. Dat kan maar op één manier, vrije fietspaden. En zorgen dat de fietser echt voorrang krijgt. Nou, als je dat wil doen, dan moet je eigenlijk binnenstad voor het verkeer nieuw inrichten. Je moet als het ware overnieuw beginnen.
Well, the moment you say, I don't want to tear down all the houses, I want to keep the streets as they are, and I want to use the marketplaces, the plazas, so to say, for market activity and not for just cars. So what we did is we this compact one, we brought them in 4 parts, like you have a cake and you divide them in 4 parts, and you could only enter from the outside of the circle in one of the parts, but you never could move from one part into the others. That was the idea, and that was called traffic circulation plan. We want to give priority to public traffic and to pedestrians and to the bike. And of course, there was a lot of publicity and there was big fights years before we had the majority decision in the city, where demonstrations from shop dwellers who were against. There were others who supported it, but the majority saw problems. Later, it all came okay and we got support. But in that period, it was really hectic fight between the different players, and people felt there is something at stake.
I grew up in a suburb where there were some cycleways, but they were not connected and they were not really so well as we know them today. And especially in the city centers, there was no cycling infrastructure at all. So it was only in the 1970s that the national government started thinking about plans to improve that. And they experimented with that in Tilburg and The Hague. Those 2 cities volunteered to do this, to get one beautiful cycle route throughout the city. When the cycle route in Tilburg was built, it was a great success. And that had largely to do with the fact that they connected the university area with the city center. So a lot of students could use this route. And the student population is the first to start cycling because they are young, they don't have too much money. They are out of the control of the parents. So they are the first to take up cycling because it only has advantages to them. So in Tilburg, the cycle route was used very well and loved very well. So after the successful trial in Tilburg came The Hague. And The Hague was a totally different story because The Hague is much bigger. The people are different. The street pattern is different. So you had a lot of shopping streets where the cycle route would go through. And the shopkeepers in those streets were very afraid that they would lose income if people couldn't park the car in front of their shops. So they were very much against it. But the city pushed on and they started building the cycle route and people started using it. But the shopkeepers were so against it that they hired people to take out the finished part of the cycle route in the night. The police had to come, the alderman was called, and then she came out of her bed, and they started to have discussions middle of the night in the street. That's how much opposition there was in The Hague. So you cannot imagine that today in the Netherlands. There's almost no opposition against any cycling infrastructure. But at that time, when it was new, people were very much against it.
Wij zijn verschrikkelijk bang dat de klanten die op dit moment dus per auto de Wijmerstraat komen, dat zijn er honderden, dat die straks de Wijmerstraat zullen gaan mijden. En wij verwachten niet dat die omzet dan gecompenseerd gaat worden door de fietsende consument. Maar onze angst is dat de auto niet meer in de Wijmerstraat kan komen en daardoor onze omzetten dus sterk zullen gaan verlagen.
Het is gewoon onbegrijpelijk dat ze dergelijke routes nu in deze tijd gaan maken. Dat er wegen worden steeds smaller. Overal is een smalle weg. En wij hebben zo'n fantastische brede weg in de Mint. Nee, zeggen ze, we gaan hem lekker halveren. De helft fietsers en brommers, wat natuurlijk een gekkenhuis wordt. En de helft met een auto, dus waar je helemaal om moet rijden om weer in je eigen straatje terug te kunnen komen. Ga je per ongeluk verkeerd, heb je geen gaatje, moet je weer helemaal omrijden. Via allerlei omwegen en straten, om dan weer een ander gaatje te vinden. Nou, dit is gewoon kolder.
The funny thing is, that was in 1978. And if you look at it with today's eyes, the red cycle paths are now everywhere. So what was then very special is kind of normal now.
The municipality of Delft themselves were following these experiments, said, okay, we can try another thing, which is the bicycle network. And the bicycle network has 2 perspectives. It's a mental map in your mind, and it's also something on the streets. But to build, let's say, 100 kilometers of separate bicycle routes, a la Tilburg or The Hague, would be too expensive and not cost effective enough. So the idea was, what if we assume that 70 or 80% of the city network is already there, the cycle network is there, being ordinary streets and junctions and roads, and we provide for the missing links. So the small missing links, just shortcuts between an area and a bicycle route. Bigger missing links like bridges and tunnels, etc. It showed that in the part where we did a lot of facilities, so where it was completed, is that finally more people went cycling. They went further on their bikes, and they came more often on their bikes.
So one of the debates is, do you need infrastructure to get cycling, or do you need culture of cycling to get cycling? It's probably somewhere in between, but it's certainly not true that if you have cycling paths, that you will have cycling. So even though the Netherlands is very famous outside and has been pioneering, and there has been a lot of copying elsewhere in the world, it is only one piece of the puzzle. Infrastructure is important, but ultimately need people to cycle.
The thing that's remarkable about cycling in the Netherlands is how unremarkable it is. Almost everybody does it. They don't even think about it. Nobody identifies themselves as a cyclist. It's just a part of the way they move around their city without special clothing, special equipment, and their bicycle is not an extension of their personality. It's more just a tool that they use to get from A to B.
Ja, ik fiets volgens mij al van mijn 4e. Heel vaak naar school en dat soort dingen. En ik turn 3 keer in de week, dus dan fiets ik meestal ook naar turnen. En we gaan ook altijd naar familie, meestal op de fiets. Dus ik fiets wel heel veel. Nou, we hadden wel al een examen, zeg maar digitaal. En daarbij moesten we vragen beantwoorden. Je kon de route op de telefoon zien. En dan kon je hem wel oefenen. Ik heb hem 3 keer geoefend met mijn vader. Mijn vader heeft me nog wel dingen uitgelegd van let daar zeker op. Want dan kan je daar tijdens je fietsexamen ook wat meer op letten. Ja, hij zei ook van steek je hand overduidelijk uit in plaats van een beetje laag. Dus dat heb ik ook zeker gedaan. En ik heb goed naar links en rechts gekeken. Ik zat met mijn vriendinnen, zaten we te praten en te kijken of we misschien hadden we het gehaald en dat soort dingen. Maar we waren er allemaal niet heel zeker van of we het zouden halen, omdat we allemaal dachten dat we heel veel fouten hadden gemaakt. Maar we hebben het wel allemaal gehaald. Dus we waren wel, toen we het hoorden, heel blij voor elkaar.
When I came to Amsterdam, that was about 30 years ago, 35 years. I'm getting old. Then, of course, a lot of people rode their bikes in Amsterdam, but it was also a little bit the Wild West. We were very assertive cyclists, and so we taught the motorists a lesson each time we encountered them. And actually, it was also much more dangerous than it is now. And in fact, at the moment, if somebody chooses to go by bike or by car, if that person goes by bike in a city like Amsterdam, as a whole, the safety is better off if people take their bike instead of taking their car.
People from abroad visit the Netherlands and they see all the cycling infrastructure in our streets. They often think this must always have been that way. Well, it's not. We've seen that these experiments in Tilburg and The Hague were only in the late 1970s. Then came Delft, a successful one, in the 1980s. And that forced the government to think about sustainable safety policies. And only when those were in force and with the good guidelines that came with them, the city started to build cycling infrastructure of the quality that we see today in the streets. 1990s, that's 20 years ago. So it's strange that people have forgotten about it, even in the Netherlands. You just take your everyday reality and think it's always been like that. Even the Dutch do that. But it hasn't. It has been very recent, this development.
That's been really part of the success here in the Netherlands, is not by building 35,000 kilometers of fully separated bike lanes, but also calming the automobile and slowing it down in their cities. So almost 3/4 of all streets, urban streets here in the Netherlands, are slowed to a speed of 30 kilometers an hour or less, which creates these conditions where almost every street can be used as a cycleway, and not just the ones that happen to be green on Google Maps or on the bicycle network plan. So I don't think this can be stressed enough, is that the relative strengths of a cycling network are only as strong as its weakest link. And so in a lot of cities that are starting to implement cycling infrastructure, they build these nice cycle paths along the side of the road. And then when you approach an intersection, you're suddenly in no man's land and you're left to your own devices. And the vast majority of collisions occur at these intersections where there's no consideration being given to people on foot or bicycle. The one area where the Dutch have really excelled has been taking a holistic approach to the intersection design, making sure that people, when they're turning in cars, are watching for people on bicycle simply through the design of the intersection, adding these bulb outs on the corners, and then refuges mid-block for the people on bicycles, so they're not crossing more than 1 or 2 lanes of traffic and left out in this area where they're exposed to motor vehicle traffic. So by taking this approach to carrying the protected bike lane through the intersection, they've made cycling much safer, much more comfortable, and much more of a viable choice for the more risk-averse people that maybe don't feel comfortable putting their life in danger every time they happen to get on a bike.
By the beginning of this millennium, of this century, the city drew up a new bicycle policy plan. And in the plan, they said we want to maintain our level of cycling at 37%. The cyclist union thought it was not very ambitious to keep it at that percentage, but the city said, no, yeah, why? Well, we get more immigrant people that don't cycle so much, and maybe we will lose cycling. So it would be great if we remain this 37%. That's a plan and that's a number, and nobody knows actually what is going to happen in the future. And I think everyone was surprised to see that from about 2000, 2005, the level of cycling started growing rapidly and to a high level. I think there are several reasons for that. One of the reasons is, of course, by that time, the city had been working on bicycle policy and on improving the bike infrastructure for about 30 years. Also, we got more train stations. So the combination of bike and train became more and more attractive. The parking policy was not only implemented in the city center, but started spreading out. So then bicycle is an even more attractive alternative for the car. The immigrant people, that the city thought, well, maybe they don't cycle so much, so we will lose this number of cycling. Actually, they started discovering the bike from the beginning of the century or a bit later. No, the whole combination made that in the city center, more than 50% of all trips are done by bike. And for the whole city, it depends a bit how you look, but it is 45% of the trips that are done by bicycle. So it is growing, and that faces us with new challenges. Sometimes problems, but let's say it's a challenge.
there's certainly momentum right now in response to a lot of this climate action in terms of building cities and moving our planning away from car-centric to more bicycle-centric. And we're seeing it more and more in all sorts of different cities, big and small, where they're starting to take a more serious look at how they plan for cycling, especially as you see more and more young people demanding an improvement to how we're approaching the climate crisis. And, you know, hopefully just like in the 70s with the young people that stood up against the cars infiltrating the city here in the Netherlands, we see the same thing happening for the young generation now that are demanding more because it's their future. It's no longer our future. And I think if they can really help us and those a little bit older than us recognize the importance of this, then I think the momentum will just increase over time. And hopefully in 30 years, we'll see a significant shift, not just here in the Netherlands or in, you know, the cities that are already on the step forward, but cities everywhere.
So we have the vice mayor here. Would you like to say a few words, vice mayor? FYI, if you don't know the vice mayor, she's an excellent dancer.
Good evening. I think it's okay to say that. Good evening. My name's Natasha Irvin, and I am the vice mayor of Opa-locka. And I want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here and ride bike with us and all the other stuff that we're doing today. I thank you very, very much and look forward to working with you and doing this again in the future. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So let's begin with you, the first presentation. So Tai is he goes all over the world, right, Tai? And present this type of topics. I was all that I know about bicycle infrastructure, I learned from this guy. So your guys are in good hand. Please welcome Taye, and he's going to talk a little bit more about how we can do road safety audits from the perspective of cyclists. So Taye.
Good, good. Do you have a clicker to swap the slides, perhaps? Okay, okay. Well, hello everyone. Nice to meet you. So feel free to come a little bit in front. So I like to make contact. So that's my approach. I like to make it personal. So I came from the Netherlands. I won't bite. I'm a nice guy. Jesus can vouch for me. So feel free to come over here. So yeah, my name is Tai, or you can call me TJ. That's easier. It's been great riding with you together here. Really to also explore Opa-locka, and really great that you joined. So past days I've been around in Fort Lauderdale with the Broward MPO. We've been doing some workshops and trainings, and yeah, we will continue some learning over here. I'm educated as a traffic engineer and planner. And yeah, as Jesus mentioned, I travel around the world, but I also have the world traveling to the Netherlands, hosting them there for trainings, rides as well. And yeah, I hope to share some of my knowledge so that that you can take some shortcuts in your future history. Because as you saw in the movie just now, it wasn't always that way. So we had a lot of cars in the 70s, 80s, a lot of fatalities, children, seniors. It took some, tough fights there as well. It took time. It took experimenting, took perseverance. And yes, it won't be easy here, but with some insights, with some, perhaps some better arguments, some better evidence, yeah, perhaps you can take the shortcut by 5, 10 years, perhaps 20 years in your future history. So that is what I hope to help you out with. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So we are here on behalf of the Dutch Cycling Embassy. The Dutch Cycling Embassy is an NGO in the Netherlands that basically has the ambition to collect all the knowledge, products, information, infrastructure. It has to to make that available for the rest of the world. Cycling for everyone, everywhere. So it's more than 100 organizations, municipalities, governments, local governments, national governments, industry, suppliers, consultants, and trainers like Richard and me that do these kind of workshops. Let's go to the next one. I would like to tell you a bit about active modes, walking and cycling, and road safety. These cannot do without each other. Let's go to the next one. So some topics that I will be covering. Okay, let's talk about the user who uses our infrastructure. Yeah, some basic principles that you can use as a sort of checklist. Whether you are a consultant, whether you are a planner, whether you are a civil society organization, these kind of insights will help you, all of you. So those are the design principles. I'll also highlight some of the details, especially on possible dangerous situations. As the documentary showed on the intersections, these are potential dangerous situations. So a couple of cues, some takes on that, what makes our infrastructure safe. And indeed, our conclusion that I will lead to, we need to think in our routes, our networks, and I will explain that later on. Okay, let's go to the next one. I got these pictures from Jesus. Thank you very much. We need to think about who we need to design for. Who are we building for? If you look at some of these pictures, apparently you see two cyclists, but what do you see? Anyone would like to comment on that? I will be depicting people, but I see a hand here and there.
They're not professional cyclists. They're like everyday people riding their bikes. They're carrying cargo. They're wearing sandals and not necessarily like sneakers and like professional biking attire.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. Let's go to Valerie over here. You also raise your hand.
They're not wearing their helmets.
No helmets here. Okay, good point. Any comments from you, Claudia?
They're not in a bike lane. They're basically in the sidewalk, what it seems, or in the road.
Okay, so that's also an observation. Any more over here? She grabbed it. Anyone on this side here to the back? You, miss? May I? What do you see? Oh,
normal people. They're not riding on a bike. I can't really see. I don't know what he's riding against, the one with the up there. Yeah, I don't see them riding that safety. Like maybe that's what I see.
He was coming from the historic city hall. because that was, I took that picture when both pictures were at the MENA Fest 3 weeks ago. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I see normal people, humans. And in that sense, you saw a lot of people in the Netherlands, and they were all just humans and not wearing their sports attire. Even were wearing ties and suits. So they are not dressed for it. They're just sitting straight, just everyday cycling. But what also characterizes them is, well, they have 2 legs, 2 arms. You need to use your muscles to get momentum. It costs you energy. They don't have suspension, these bikes. They don't have protection. They don't have airbags. They don't have crumple zones. They don't have AC. What else that I'm missing? It's 2 wheels. So what do we need to do if we are riding only 2 wheels? We need to balance, so that takes a little bit of space. So we need to think like humans and users if we are planning infrastructure, if we are building infrastructure, because what characterizes them, we need to compensate that through our designs and through our builds. So smooth asphalt, we need some sufficient width, so to accommodate for that weaving. And we need to make safe infrastructure. We don't have a big truck protecting us. It's nothing. So we need to make our infrastructure safe. And we need to make it fun, of course, comfortable, attractive. So it's not, okay, if you're in a car, you just close your window. No noise. There's no air pollution. So we also need to think about that as well, to have some trees, shades, especially down here. So this is only May. So I've been told that well, the worst part of this year is coming with summer. Temperatures rising even up to the, what is it, 80s or 90s or even more, right? So it's next to the infrastructure itself is also the experience. And then like the key thing there is trees and shades. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah, so this is what I mentioned, but it's also what I forgot to mention, is that it's also a social activity. Imagine driving your car together with your friend or partner. If you would be the driver, where would your partner sit? Next to you, not behind you. That's the same thing when we are cycling, when we are riding together. So that's why we also want to have wide lanes and protection. Yes? Okay, next one. This is the safe system approach. So what I mentioned, we need to make it safe, of course, but safety as such, that's also, well, it's a comprehensive approach what we need to think of. I won't be covering all of this. This is also American figure. So it's not just Dutch, it's like an international approach, what we call safe systems. Some things you see, humans are vulnerable, already touched upon that. Our responsibility is shared. It's our planners, it's our municipalities, it's enforcement, it's all of us basically, right? So that is something that we need to think of. That serious injury is unacceptable, so we need to take action, all of us. We make mistakes. Everybody, we are not robots, we are not machines. And we need to think of that. So in our traffic system, there's so much happening, and we cannot compensate everything by enforcement or through technology. So we also need to think about our infrastructure. And that is where the remainder of my story is about. It's more about the safe roads and the safe speeds. They go together. So through like design, we can also lower speeds and make it safer, make it attractive. Lower speeds, lower volumes is also attractive to use your bicycle or to go for a walk. Okay, let's go to the next one. And so how can we translate all these characteristics that I just explained? So how do we take that to design? We do that through design principles. They are sort of interface between, well, everything that characterizes us and what to do on the street. Next one, please. There's 5. You can consider these as a checklist, whether you're an engineer, a planner, a citizen, being part in advocacy groups. Check, use this, or consider this as a checklist in the things, in the plans that the municipality or the MPO, the TPA, well, all these abbreviations are working on. So all of you have these in mind when you're working on. I will explain them one by one. We'll talk about cohesion or coherence, directness, safety, comfort, and attractiveness. Next one, please. Cohesion is really about thinking that we, of course, we can walk as a recreational activity. We can do that for cycling as well, for sports. But we can also consider these as modes of transportation. And then it becomes a functional, so it becomes a transport mode. Yeah? And to be able to have that, to make that working, we need to connect the places where we live and the places where we go to, origins and destinations, to provide for cycling from anywhere to everywhere. So we need to think, okay, what are possible destinations? The tri-rail station, for example, City Hall, public services, the community center. Those are all, or the school, for example. Those are typical destinations where you would or could walk or cycle to. And so if we make these destinations connected to our cycle routes and our cycleways, or our walking routes and walking ways, then we are thinking in a network, because it's not just one route. One day you need to go to the station, the other day to the city hall, etc., etc. So it becomes quite normal, like every day, to walk and to cycle. This is cohesion. Let's go to the next one. This is the cohesion principle further continued. So as mentioned, from your home, from your EA to City Hall, through traffic, of course, to also public transit stations, whether it's the tri-rail station, whether it's a bus stop. These could also be destinations. In the Netherlands, our average cycle trip or commute is up to 3-5 miles, like the majority. We don't use a bicycle for 20, 30, some do, but generally we don't if you go to work. Richard does, very good. But the majority, yeah, so we plan for the, in essence, we think about the majority, but we do not neglect the minority there. So, but in essence, we take a short bike trip to the station and then we continue. Yeah, so also train stations, bus stations are very important. Also in relieving congestion, thinking about climate change. This is the way of thinking. Let's go to the next one. Yes, next one, please. Directness, of course. We are humans, and in essence, we are lazy people. We are lazy people. So if we go there, we don't want detours. We make it direct as possible. And because it's fast, we are also lazy because, well, if we make a detour that costs us a lot of energy, we want to make to minimize our stops. And in essence, if we can do that, make that possible, then cycling and walking is becoming attractive and an attractive alternative. Let's go to safety, perhaps even the most important one. So don't take like the order I'm covering these elements as a hierarchy, but just a simple order, right? Safety, and that cannot be stressed enough. Safety or, well, unsafe traffic situations are reasons not to cycle or walk or do that more often, right? Possibly if I would asking you this question, why would you not take your bicycle, not walk more or cycle more, then probably these could be important reasons. And we want to separate, protect it. So if we are down in traffic, like heavy volumes, heavy speeds, so everything above 30 miles an hour, that's a potential dangerous situation where you really want to have protected lanes. So you want to have large offsets. You want to have large distances between you as a cyclist and traffic. Let's go to the next one. But there's also really a great health benefit to these active modes. What you see in these schemes is like the overall benefits in terms of life expectancy. So if you do some average, like 1 or 2 trips a week by bicycle or walk, then generally put, you gain, well, almost 250 days in your life. Or if you don't do that, you miss 250 days in your life. You can live longer. And these benefits, and that also saves in healthcare costs. So basically this could, like buying a bike and using it could be your healthcare insurance. Perhaps that's even cheaper. And it's really these kind of benefits in the end, like everything together outweigh, like the opposite of a benefit is a negative or an, so it outweighs unsafety and pollution. Okay, let's go to the next one. Comfort. Again, we are people and we like comfort. So we also want to create pleasant cycling experience. So that also helps to get people riding. Let's go to the next one. And we can do that by creating shade. That's the protection from the weather, especially for the sun. Traffic nuisance, traffic hindrance, noise, stress. We want to limit stops, also guide people from one place to another by wayfinding. That's the mental map that was referred to in the documentary. And even road surfaces, so to avoid cracks and humps and bumps, etc. But that's comfort. Let's go to the next one. Attractiveness. That really relates to comfort as well. So what is in general it's also very subjective, but there are some general elements. That's green spaces, openness, waterways where possible, well-maintained, quiet street. To the left, you see Purvis Avenue with some shade, nice asphalt, only 1 lane. So that's like a quiet traffic situation. And to the right, it's a very, well, I don't know if it's heavy traffic or congested, but at least it's like a sort of deserted, unmaintained area, which is Alibaba Avenue here in Opa-locka. Okay, let's go to the next one. So these principles can be used as a checklist. Are you following me? I have a lot to tell, but just checking in with you if you're not falling asleep. It's also, well, hitting 6 almost, but I can continue days here, but I'm not expecting you to follow me on that one. So, okay, let's continue with, okay, how to make it safe. This is perhaps a very strange thing, but it was also shown in the documentary. This is what we call a Dutch intersection or protected intersection. You see cars, there's, well, perhaps 1 or 2 cyclists in there if you look well. But what strikes you? What do you see here? What could make this this intersection safe? Yes. Okay. Yes.
So the I guess it's the red brown line, or it's not line, but the path that is for cyclists, and so it becomes this like protected space for cyclists to travel, so they're not necessarily in the road with cars.
Good point. Yes, let's go to just this gentleman over here.
You see the extended curbs into the intersection, making the especially around the right turn areas, it makes it a lot wider and a lot smoother, and provides this kind of shielding for anybody who's who's waiting on the edge of the intersection or looking to begin crossing.
Very good. Very good.
Also protects the cyclist, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it protects the cyclist.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Let's go to this side. Do you have any thoughts you like to contribute? Not yet? Okay. Yeah, perhaps. Anyone else?
The pavement markings guiding the cyclist or the pedestrian or the car.
Yes. Yeah. This point. One final one. You already okay? Let's give you some.
The refuge islands where you can stop and wait to cross if it's a long walk.
Exactly. Let's go to the next one. As I've highlighted a couple of them, and I believe most of them were covered. We used red asphalt for our cycling lane. You usually use green. Yeah, so think green. So you see that here, the shark teeth indicate the priority. At least the aisles in the corners, but also in the medians, the noses. You see that. Here, that's perhaps difficult to see, but in the approach of the arm, we bend out. So we create some space to put these aisles. And what was also mentioned in the documentary, so if we have a protected lane, we carry it through the intersection, but also by bending it out and having these curbs, the design makes the car to see pedestrians and cyclists at a 90-degree angle. And well, another detail is that like this buffer area, ideally is the length of a car. Yeah, so that also, well, should there be, upcoming traffic, that's not really the case here, but in other situations, it's also safe for the car to yield there. Yeah. So that's some things how we do it in practice, ideally, especially on intersections, because that is where speed and mass and heavy vehicles and vulnerable road users meet. To the next one. Yeah, this is a YouTube video with an explainer. So could this, we don't know if we tested this. Just hit play. This is. Not working, I think. Okay, this is. Oh, no problem. Let's see if we can do that later on, possibly. So we will skip this now. Jesus, how am I doing in time? I'm talking too much, or do I need to speed up? Yeah, it's good. Okay. Yeah, let's. Could we put it on full screen again?
This is.
Okay. Yeah. This is like one of these guys that featured in the documentary is this blogger, and he makes this really great explainer videos, like animation, but also filming on the streets and explaining how it works. And this is one. Okay, how can you use this intersection idea?
US road from the latest urban design guide with the official lane widths. And this is the latest advice for a cycle lane with a right turning lane. The problem with this design is the extremely bad angle of crossing. A driver has to look over his or her right shoulder to see if there's someone on a bicycle. For that reason, the Dutch stopped building lanes like this a long time ago. They keep cyclists to the right of motorized traffic and deal with the crossing on the junction itself. To make that possible in a safe way, you can create an extra curb to connect the cycle lanes on both streets. It has the same radius as the existing curb, and cars should turn around the cycle path anyway. You can see there's now room for a protecting traffic island. When we open the curb to let cyclists go straight on, we see that we have created a cycle path on the junction itself without needing more space. There's room for this in every corner. To make things more clear for all road users, we could add some color, and at the place of crossing, some markings. Now we only have to find a new place for pedestrians to cross the street. For that, we can easily shift back the stopping line a bit, add a zebra crossing, and pedestrians have an even better place to cross the street. Now, how does this improve safety? A right-turning car has to stop here, while someone on a bike waits over here, in very clear view of the driver. A cyclist will be gone once the car arrives at the crossing place, but if they do meet there, eye contact is possible because both can look to the front. This design solves a further problem, that of the left turn. You may think this could only work in theory, but this is standard design for Dutch junctions. It really needs no more space than a traditional junction. But for people cycling, it is much safer, and it makes riding a lot more pleasant.
Yeah, so it's quite simple, huh? You can just try to, well, take a Google Earth view and then just start sketching. So that's like first step, just to find some space to try out these principles. And there's also these kind of principles that are being used all over the world and also being used or being included, pre-described in guidelines for planners and engineers. Let's go to the next one. This another example coming up. This is Australian, I believe. So they it's all left hand traffic. Okay, let's go to the next one. Up, we like roundabouts or traffic circles even more, because there's less conflict points where cyclists and pedestrians and cars meet. So less possible locations where they could bump into each other. Go to the next one, please. So that basically has some same elements there. So again, there you have the red carpet or the green carpet. These are the protective aisles in the corners that you saw. This is the buffering space. So one car length instead of the situation at an intersection, you do have like ongoing traffic. You have the medians, you have the indication for the priority, and you have circular traffic. So that's also comfort, directness, that's easy. The centerpiece should be wide enough so that it has a speed reducing effect. So the diameter should be broader than the width of the road, of the carriageway. So basically that is how it works here. I haven't seen that much of a roundabout, but if you really want to make it space and you have the place, then I would say let's try that one out as well, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. So we know a thing or two about safe design, and I've been looking into US manuals as well, and in essence they comprise quite some good guidance that could lead to quite some safe situations. Also when it comes to bicycle infrastructure design. So question there is, what is keeping us from implementing this? Perhaps there's too much focus on street level, or we forget the network thinking. Okay, where should we do it? And of course, in the end, it's always about where to find the space or to make choices or priorities. Do we choose for the car, or do we choose for us as cyclists, as pedestrians? So that is where it becomes difficult, and that is also coming down to politics. Okay, but we could have a whole discussion about that, but that's perhaps not now the time to do it. Okay, let's continue to the next one. Yeah, so it is about network thinking. So it is, what I was just saying, it's difficult to create these space situations or these infrastructures we want. And so we really need to choose, where do we want to engage? Where do we want to put up the fight, if it's a fight? Or where can we find a strong case, a strong business case? Because we cannot do it everywhere. We need to think, okay, where in our city do we need to start? So we need to think in networks, like these connections. If we can put some good lanes and good walking routes to the bus station or the train station, or if we can connect City Hall or the community center, that could be a great start. And if we can, well, from all the direction, north, east, south, west, if we can put a network together, then we know at street level we need to focus on this intersection and not on that one. We need to focus on that link and not on the other one. And if we see, okay, that link carries a lot of traffic, perhaps we should find a quieter route because there's more opportunities, right? So that is network thinking. And next one, please. So this was where I was referring to guidance, and there's a huge potential. So that's what I already mentioned. So you could segment cyclists and user profiles. Perhaps we know these sports kind of guys in their road runners, bicycles, in their spandex. We are not talking about these kind of cyclists. It's what just mentioned when I showed the pictures of Jesus, of the normal users. They have normal clothes. They're just normal people, but they are interested but concerned. And you could say that's more than half of the population, which is our potential market. That is half of the population in a city that we could possibly persuade to get on a bike if we provide safe infrastructure. Safe infrastructure is the solution, or that is the way to go with this segment because they have a low stress tolerance. And then here to the right, where we talk about volumes and speed. So basically, if there's, well, I would say, well, the bike lane buffer, okay, but everything with a speed or maximum speed of 20 to 25 miles an hour, try to really to buffer or to even protect it, protected lanes, or where the volume is very high, it's the same story, because this together is well, potentially unsafe, well, and not comfortable to ride. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah, this also basically illustrates a bit. This is difficult to read. I don't expect you to read it right now, but it's more to show that there is quite some good guidance available. So it's not just me saying it, but this is the evidence. It is there. There's a lot of great people that know this stuff, know how to implement it. Let's continue to the next one. We also need to think where we want to plan. That also relates, okay, what is our urban context? How does our city look like? Industry areas or like low density areas, that's perhaps difficult to get people riding. So if we build something, we want to get people using it. So to the right, to the image on the left, more to the right, you see a more built up area. There are more people, more destinations. That's more potential for people to walk and to cycle. Anything more that I need to say about these other things? You helped me. Jesus helped me to prepare this one. So
we're gonna showcase further the FDOT context classification, because that's pretty important for us here in Florida that we had to follow, especially when we have corridors that are part of the state highway system. So,
okay, let's go to the next one. So safe infrastructure really is about, well, thinking about who is the road for, what we want to happen, how we want to use it, what is the function. We want separate to have like motorized traffic where it's in high volumes, high speed together, or separated from vulnerable road users. That's homogeneity. We want to road design in such a way that it sort of guides you, explains to you what is expected from you. In other words, if you have like, I don't know, 15, 18 feet wide lane of asphalt and a lot of lanes there that is inviting you to speed. If you narrow it down if you tighten your profile a bit, you have some, well, curbsides there, then the effect of that is that you will also slow down. So how we make things look, that's psychology there. So that is what is meant with recognizability. If we do that in the design, we can also reduce speeds, lower potential, lower safety risks. And in the end, if it's, quieter in traffic, that's more attractive to walk and cycle. In the end, we need to think about the forgivingness. We make mistake. So that's also street edges or curb edges. So if we make them a bit in that way, that if we run off, that we don't hurt ourselves. That's details. Let's continue to the next one. So if we want a highway is designed for a lot of vehicles to go from A to B, and we design accordingly. So that's called function and design. So then the width, design speeds, etc., maximum speed indicated is following that. So the result of that is a lot of traffic. In our streets where we have our houses, in the end where we want to arrive safely at home, those local streets, those have a sort of local street function, a local neighborhood function. So that is a sort of the function of that road. So we want to make sure that it's not that wide as a highway. Just narrow, perhaps some speed humps, some chicanes, make sure that or avoid a situation where a lot of through traffic. That makes this kind of design makes that it's low in traffic, low in speed, and more nicer and safer. So from function design use. Let's go to the next one. Well, speed limits play an important role. So this figure indicates what actually is happening at certain speeds. So before we can hit the brake, we need to think. And by thinking 1 second at a speed of 50 miles an hour, you're already traveling like many meters. So this is like structured here. So the key message here is, well, safe speeds are up to where we talk about walking and cycling. The 20 to 30 mile speed limits, that is where we can mingle a bit, mix traffic. Everything that above, again, separation. Because also, again, explained through braking distances. Let's go to the next one. Briefly touched upon already. So we can classify our cities, our urban context. And that also relates to this function. So if we are downtown, if we have a lot of shops or restaurants, that is more sort of place function. So it's nicer to be there. You go in and out. Perhaps there are some nice terraces or so, or some nice restaurants where you want to be. So if that is a sort of place, yes, that kind of feeling that you would like to plan for, then you also want to lower traffic again. And like far to the outskirts in between cities, again, that is more for speed and highways. And so we also need to think about where we are in the city when we are planning our streets and improving our streets. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah, so this is this is American, Floridian, or local context. Yeah.
That's the classification of our roads based on the FHWA. We just wanted to mention that the minimum speed limit within the city boundaries is 30 miles per hour. And you could see that in the map, the distribution of the roadways. Whatever you don't have a color is considered a local road, which is the majority of the roads that we cycle today. But we did cycle in a collector, which, is 151st Street, which is a minor collector. So, yes, local in Miami-Dade County, unless you are in cities like Miami Beach, is 30 miles per hour. For example, the city nearby, which is Hialeah, the minimum speed limit is 30 miles per hour. Miami Beach, I think, is one of the very few cities in the county that has reduced the local street speed limit to 25.
Yeah, so if we can draw a conclusion here, taking it from the cyclists and pedestrians. So if we want to create night walking routes or cycling routes, we can also take a map, and then the only routes in the network, the only roads in the network that are potentially useful to planning this, like roughly put, are the local roads and perhaps the minor collector roads. I like that. That's my Dutch rule of thumb for this kind of situation. Yeah, so but like the pitfall there was that we are searching for how to plan a bike lane on like a minor arterial or like a freeway. That's very difficult. And if you make it, then it's not so nice to cycle there because it's so noisy and so smelly with all these trucks. So that's again this user thinking, us as human beings. Okay, next one, please. That is the Dutch explanation of, okay, if we plan our cycleways, let's try to explore what the local roads, like a block up or block down, if there are some opportunities. Lower volumes, there's more spare capacity, less parking pressure perhaps. And there's also more space in political sense. There's perhaps less of a fight necessary to get it built. Okay, next one, please. So if we look at a street, at an intersection or a street or a road, how can we make it safer? Also think, okay, is this like a major arterial road or is it a local road? Where can we plan? So it's a sort of, we need to zoom in and zoom out to come to good decisions. Next one. And that is how we want to prioritize. So basically, again, this is visualize this idea of thinking in networks. Where do we want to concentrate? It's also where do we want to put the money? Where are where's our market? Where are our cyclists? Where are our pedestrians? And if we find some good market, then we build and then we prioritize it on these networks. And to the right, that's again your input, Jesus. That's the existing cycling network already. So that's that's also well comparable. At left is the Dutch, the Netherlands. To the right, Opa-locka.
Which we have print out for you guys, and that's gonna be part of the workshop after we do the presentation about the train station. So
yeah, yes, network. Okay, next one. Because there's, if we think in these networks, if we apply this principle further, we can search for the opportunities to get things done. Also thinking in terms of stress level, and I think this is always, almost like a reflection of the road classification with the arterials, the collectors, etc.
Yeah, the level of stress that we are showcasing there comes from People for Bikes, where anything that is higher than 30 miles per hour is considered stressful if you don't have a facility. So that's why you see a lot of red in there. And the other one is the traffic volumes that we have within the city. In some of the cities, as you can see, some of the roads have high volume. Some of them are in the 20,000 vehicles per day. So that's why we need to find good opportunities to implement a strategy. Yes.
Thank you. Today we biked on bike lanes that were separated by paint and then some sharrows. Would you consider the paint protection in this analysis, or is it just physical barrier?
Thank you, Tala. The sense is you don't have to have a protected bicycle lane everywhere. Again, we have to go by context. The bike lanes that we rode today on Purvis Avenue were pretty chill. One lane on both sides. You had trees. You had a very low volume. Even though it's 30 miles per hour. But it's very, very residential. So with the facilities that you have, you're good there. However, that was important about choosing that route. And when we switched to 151st, that's when you get the stress way up. And we were chill because we have the police escorting us. But if you're a regular cyclist, your intuition will put you to ride on the sidewalk because you will not feel comfortable riding your bike on a sharrow, on a facility that is 40 miles per hour and has a traffic volume in the 20,000s. So that's kind of like what we're trying to see. Let's pick those locations where we could have opportunities and implement the infrastructure that is applicable for that context. So oftentimes we force an infrastructure that is not really needed in that context. So that's why we want to make sure, because the effort should be meeting the context and meeting the neighborhood character. So that's extremely important when we implement this type of infrastructure.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, so this is where I'm going to conclude my story. Again, there's thinking and networks for cyclists and pedestrians. Where are they coming from? Where are they going to? We need to think of these road classifications and to make sure that we, well, find the ways in our routes, in our streets, in our roads, where we can find, well, the space, the quietness, so to say, to develop safe and successful active mobility infrastructure. And I think this was the final one. Yes, the next one, please. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Taija. That was fantastic. And we try to make this as local as possible, so you could see that, even here in South Florida, you can make those changes. But one of the things that also I wanted to include as part of this presentation is that the importance of having a transit hub as in the city. The travel station is the center of the city. It's you have a lot of ridership. You have a lot of buses using it, a lot of folks. It creates a pattern of traffic that people coming in and out of the station, crossing the Alibaba Boulevard unsafely because there's no mid-block crossing or anything, and they go to the station. So the travel station is the hub of the city, and as such, it generates a lot of traffic. So when we were putting this together, we thought, well, we need to bring an expert. And here's where Richard comes in. We needed to have an expert of how to design access to the train stations and make them accessible for all of us, not just those who drive and park and ride. We want to make sure that we have access as for all types of modes. And Lenny and I, when we did the bike ped needs for the tri-rail stations in Miami-Dade County as part of the TPO, we looked at the station and we saw that there's a lot of potential with the Opa-locka station. So that's why we got Richard. And without further ado, Richard.
Thank you. Yeah, the big organizer. Thank you. Please do. So James, also welcome here. So we had a fantastic workshop yesterday in Broward County. So we do the same after my talk. We are going to make your city better, make designs for cycle paths. My name is Richard Avest. I work for the Dutch Cycling Embassy, and one of the members is Goutappel. Professor Goutappel founded it 60 years ago. So in the 60s, I was born. I'm from 62, and I'm also 62 years old or young. And this is Think Bike number 10 in the US. So I started in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, then San Jose, then Austin, Texas in 2012, Houston, Washington, DC, Minneapolis, and Broward County, and now here. And it's amazing to help, to make plans together with you. Now we are talking about the heart of the city, one of the hearts, because you have also a nice city hall and other pearls of your chain in Opa-locka. Who is using the train every month? No, here in who is from Opa-locka? Every month? Every week? Okay. Do you like to train? Why?
A lot quicker. I don't have the issues of traffic lights and just bad traffic. Nothing impedes my way to going to work. It's comfortable.
Can pay it? Is it affordable for you?
It's affordable. Miami-Dade County makes it affordable. They have different ride subsidies. Federal government, myself as a federal employee, we also have subsidies as well. So there's a lot of flexibility with the public transportation and how one can access it or use, get like a card and put their funds on it to be able to ride monthly or however they want to use it.
Yeah, okay. I also got a card. So this is my card.
Yeah.
Who is another user of Tri-Rail? Who tries it every day? Every day, every week?
Hello, everyone. So I grew up in Miami Gardens, which is the neighboring city. It used to be Carroll City I was there before it was Carroll City, and it was always Opa-locka. But I do use Tri-Rail. I live in Miramar right now, and I used to Miramar. No, not Miramar the country, but Miramar the city. Yeah, so I live in Miramar, and what happened is that I work in downtown Miami. So I used to catch I-95 Express, but we get caught up at the Golden Glades interchange. And I used to always try to go to the Golden Glades interchange to the catch 95 Express. However, because they just opened Tri-Rail into downtown Miami, sometimes I could take 32nd or 42nd Avenue down and cut through the neighborhood, and I'll park at the Opa-locka station. It takes me literally like probably no less than probably 4 or 5 minutes to get from Opa-locka to 79th Street. And then I just transfer over to the either Metro Rail or the new Tri-Rail train. It's a shuttle train, and then I go into downtown Miami.
You got a new train. This is 40 years old.
Yeah, so they just opened the new line. It's a shuttle right now. It's a shuttle right now, but hopefully in the future they'll have a line. I mean, you can just take one train, but the person who takes it faithfully is my colleague over here, and I would love for you to get his opinion on it.
Okay, the king of the Mr. Try it.
King of Trial. Wow. Okay. Kevin, working in Miami-Dade TPO, and I live in Broward County up in Coral Springs, and I take the Tri-Rail faithfully every single time I work in downtown Miami. Pretty much simple. It's been made a lot easier now with the shuttle connection, but and of course the train goes through this Opa-locka every day, and I see a lot of people coming on and off at this station both in the morning and in the afternoon. So you know that there is this station is served as a mode to the area.
Do you use your legs or your are you pedaling or take the car to the station?
I drive to the station.
It's only 100 meters.
No, it's a half-hour drive.
Buy an e-bike next time. So I'm very proud of you, all the three. And it's excellent that you have those kind of infrastructure with rail and with the station. And we want to tell a bit about how to improve that heart of your city, one of the hearts. Can someone start the presentation?
Just so you know that the data about the station, fiscal year 2023, Opa-locka had about 200,000 riders, and bicycle boardings were about 7,000 and boardings, and then 8,000 people getting off. And then you have about 2,000 scooters and a little bit more than 2,000 scooters getting off. So there's a lot of bicycle scooter connectivity with the train. Just wanted to share that.
One more chart, I think as well.
Yeah.
Just want to say that
my counterpart, I work in my TPO, my counterpart at the Broward MPO, where we were the past 2 days. Omar, he does the flip of what I do. He lives downtown Miami and works up there. So he takes the train north south. I take the train south north. So
then you wave.
Yeah,
Wave. You got the relations. Hi. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, we will run through some slides. Next one. Okay, yes, next one. So the combination of, this is a typical train station area in the Netherlands. So here is the tri-rail station, but we have access by, we also have cars by a roundabout. So we have 65% less accidents at the roundabout if you compare it to it with intersection with signals. So under that roundabout, there is a non-stop bike route, but also a sidewalk in gray, a bicycle parking in front of the entrances, and the cars have to walk a bit more to the train station. Next one. Yeah. Why is this a perfect combination? Sometimes I say the young urban people only need a bit, a bike, internet, and a train. My daughters do have a driving license, but they don't use the car anymore. Then the case city, where are we working for? So we have 3 maps on the tables with the station in the middle, and we going to look to all the bike routes going to that train station, and where are the difficult points to cross. The 5 requirements how to make it an ideal spot. Next one. Yeah, next one. Okay, the combination of speed. No, it's not that much speed. So we, in our rails in the Netherlands, we have 3 types of trains. So we call it sprinters. So every station it stops. The second are the intercities. So every 30 kilometers. And then the high-speed trains, European trains. And now you have the tri-rail with only the sprinters, and you got the bright line only with the intercities. So maybe they can combine it in the future. So the high speed of the trains you can combine with the door-to-door opportunity of walking and cycling. And the access area of cycling is much bigger. Next one. Yeah, and there are already some cycle infrastructure examples in this county, and also here in this city. We just saw it. And it's not only about cycle paths, but it's also the quiet areas where you don't have to make cycle paths. So we did work in London, and 75% of all the cycle tracks are within areas with a maximum speed of 20 miles. So 30 miles per hour is much too fast. So my question is, what kind of city do you want? Do you want 30 miles per hour in your residential area? I would say not. Maybe the vice mayor will come back. We can ask them. All the neighborhoods 20 miles per hour, and all the arterials maximum 30. So we were in Broward County. They had a state road with 6 lanes, 45 miles per hour, and they reconstructed to 4 lanes with 35 miles per hour, and a bike lane like that one, like this one, the green one. And looking to the numbers of cars, there were 20,000 cars, and 40% of all those cars are short car trips, shorter than 5 miles. So if you get rid of those cars, local trips, you only need 2 lanes. So that's what we did in Los Angeles, in the downtown area. There were 5 lanes for cars, and now 2. And it is better to cross the road. You can have more terraces with outdoor seats, and they have more space to make parks in LA downtown. The next one. So here's your own city with the train station and the current catchment area. So within 5 minutes, you can walk from these streets to the train station, and 50 minutes in green walking to the train station. Red is half an hour. So if it's too hot, I think you are, have to go on a colder day. These are all the bus stops in combination with walking. And now the next one, if you combine it with biking, you see everything blue and green. So the whole city is covered by the combination of biking and to the train station with high speed to other cities. Next one. So the catchment area of walking is half a mile, and a catchment area by bike is 2 miles or 3 miles, and sometimes we say e-bike and regional bike routes, for example, cycle highways. It's 5 miles. Here you see an example of a bike share system under the train station of the city. The whole county is visiting within 3 weeks. So Ty and I will be there. He will be there to talk about with all the 40 elected people and managers going to 3 cities in the Netherlands to see and believe. And they come back and they want to say, we want to make a Dutch city. And do you have made plans? Yeah, we did it today. We have good plans for your city as well. Yes, next one. Yeah, also for the bus, is it busy here on some streets in peak hour? Yes. Then the bus is stuck in traffic, and then you have to wait. And then the next time you say, I buy an old car because, yeah, it's not so good. So it's good to make a separate bus lane and also separate bike lanes. So that is what we are doing in Latin America and Africa as well, because of the booming cities over there. And they want to have livable cities for the millions of people who live there. Next one. Yeah, this is a network and the smart program with all the transit lines. Very proud of this. And that's why all the people from New York come to live here. And Austin does not have those lines. You like that or not?
Yeah, we just wanted to highlight that, of course, Paola and her department, they're moving forward with the SMART program. And one of the lines that are coming or will be close to the area that we are right now is the North Corridor. And as part of the SMART program, there's also the SMART trails. And a lot of the SMART trails are connecting those stations with the transit centers. So the idea is that if you have a station, you will have a trail right next to it. So that's why we're showcasing both the SMART program and the SMART trails. So.
Yes, and Austin is struggling to get the money for a metro line or light rail to the, for example, the airport. And they need also state money from Texas. No, they are not. It's not easy to get the money for those kind of infrastructure. And it's the fast-moving, fast-growing city in the US with 1,000 people per day extra. Next one. Yeah. Okay, this is your case. You already have some good examples of bike parking, and also with you can lock those systems. In the Netherlands, we have more and more electric bikes, which cost 2,000 euro. So, and there are a lot of thieves. They pick your bike. So we have also thinking about guarded. They are not here. Okay. So we are rebuilding car parking garages. We make bike parking garages with guarded people. Yeah. Also 1 hour after closing the supermarkets. And it's also work for all the people, and it's service also. Yes, next one. So yeah, that's yeah, you know everything.
Yeah, as part of the Lenny and I when we did the the tri-rail biped needs of the evaluation of the Opa-locka station, we used again the TPW 2021 framework, and then that's those are the clusters and the high injury segments that were identified. Then I know that if you're curious about it, the DTPW just updated the 2021 plan, so I would invite everyone to look into that and seeing and comparing to the this location. Actually, what we rode on one of the roads that was identified as one of the top 50s, which is Sharazad Boulevard. And then the map that you see right next to it, the idea, the reason why we're showcasing that is because we wanted to tell you the land use that you have surrounding the station. You have a lot of residential, but you also have a lot of industrial use surrounding the tri-rail station. So that makes it a little bit complicated to have a network. Next. And then we also, as part of the biped needs that we did for the Miami-Dade TPO, you can see over here the census tracts that are considered historically disadvantaged. And then the census tracts that are considered areas of persistent poverty. Both unfortunately correlate, and they're always go hand in hand. And another thing that we wanted to showcase is in the since teenagers and school children tend to use mass transit more often because they don't have a car, then you can see as well that there's a more than normal concentration of young people surrounding the station. So that's an opportunity for folks to actually use the train system. Next.
One back. One back, please. We don't. He's calling. One back. Yes, we don't have information about poverty. It's in the Netherlands.
For us, it's important to do that.
Yeah, maybe we will learn from you to do that as well. We use also we are using maps for heat in the summer. Then we want to know the older people where they live. They need more care, but we don't know how much money they earn.
One of the reasons why, not only because it's important, but one of the reasons why we need to do this is because a lot of the federal funding is tied to doing this type of analysis. So you have to ensure that the money is going to areas that have never received any money, pretty much. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's good. Those are the new European plans. So it starts with congestion, then road safety, then pollution, climate, and now inclusion. So that's yeah. Next one, please. So 5 requirements to improve your station and also the environment of the station. First is densify, to get more activities and buildings around your station. The second is connect with the network for cycling, for buses, for parking. The third one is enjoy, make a nice area. It's not bad here, but I don't know if you want to walk at night here. There are also no restaurants or places to, yes, quite a bit. Improve mobility service and hubs. Yeah, we came from Cypress Creek Trail, that's a hub for park and ride. And also share cars, you can do that on those hubs. And attract more in the terms of behavior, influence, to give people incentives when they use those areas. The second thing is the ABC zoning. So the downtown area is an A zone with a low speed for cars and priority for biking and walking, and probably parking policy, but I don't know if it's we can talk about that. Okay, next slide. Yeah, I cannot compare this with your city, but because you have low dense streets, but our idea is the A zone is in downtown and we embrace the central station. This is a city in Utrecht, number 4 in the Netherlands. So priority for walking and parking, no parking on the streets, but in garages. shared space, so no car lanes. And the B zone is more balanced between all the modes, and the C zones are the suburbs with separated structures like bus lanes and free parking. So a good mobility plan is a land use plan. Next one. Yeah, and also we're making new towns, and we start, for example, 25,000 new houses near Utrecht. And we start with the walking network, then the bike network with regional routes to connect it with the stations, and the local routes through all the neighborhoods. Then they get 2 light rail or speed tram stops with the catchment area. And the final thing is make a road at the edge of the whole new town. And that is connected with the highway. Next one. Yeah, then about park and rides. Maybe some people are using, yeah, for example, you, half an hour driving, and you don't have to pay. It's for free. Okay. Yeah, if it's congested and you want to have narrow streets and more hubs at the edge of the city, you can decide to make a hub at the edge and then give alternatives by buses, by bikes, e-bikes. Yeah, that's an opportunity, and this is what we're doing now in the Netherlands. Yes, the next one. And then the station area, next one. This is, yeah, we are very proud of the train station of Rotterdam. Who knows Rotterdam? The second city, harbor city. It was full of roads. You could not cross this area in the 90s. So they redesigned it for people again. Next one. And the idea is, yeah, you go from home to your work. And the first mile is, okay, walking or cycling. Then you have to wait for the train. And then you have, maybe it's not nice weather or too hot. So make it nice at the train station. And then you have the last mile, walking or cycling to your work or visiting your mother. Next one. So it's important to have a nice experience at the train station and offer some comfort. Next one. And for example, here's a combination with the train and with the tram in Amsterdam, together with a lot of bike facilities. And there are no roads in this area, so it's easy to cross the street. Next one. Yeah, what is an attractive and a joyful environment? So the French and the Spanish architects are very good to make those kinds of landscapes, but also buildings. But also this building here is not bad. So at your own train station, it's kind of a architectural, yeah, it's an icon. Next one. Next one. Yeah, next one. Next one. Yeah, that's all theory. And if you want to know more about how to measure experience and waiting time, if you have nice experience, then you think it's not that long waiting. So that's good to make a nice and pleasant area of your train station. Yeah, the next one. Yeah, this is the idea, make direct bike routes and walking routes to your train station without high stress streets, and make it also accessible. But I think you already have made some first steps here. Yeah, next one. And then, yeah, the second thing is maybe more buildings around the train station. That's good for environment and also for the people for short trips from the station. Yeah, next one. And here is you can compare the Opa-locka tri-rail with bike parking and car parking with a station in the Netherlands, not far from me, with the bike parking under the train station, and yeah, and the car has to go a bit further. The next one. Next one. That's all theory. So some examples of how to make it nice and interesting, and a nice architecture, pleasant time, clear, make it clean, and also a place to stay. Yeah, next one. Okay, very short and.
We're gonna get you guys to go to the tables. Please move to the tables, and then we're gonna start doing exercises where we're gonna be looking. Yeah, and that up and oh, hello, Mr. Alex. So we're gonna be working on selecting routes that will take you guys to the train station, and in the shortest way and safest way. So, yes. Oh. Oh. ¿Pero por qué? All right, folks. Folks, let's work. Welcome, sir.
Good to see you.
How are ya?
Great, great, great.
Come and help us design some bike stations.
Okay.
And folks, when you're looking at the locations and where you're gonna put the bike lanes and whatnot, I want you to look at all the different exhibits that you see over there. And then I want you to see where the crashes are happening. The dots that with the highest intensity, that's where the crashes are happening. You can see the intersection of 22nd and Opa-locka Boulevard is one of the worst ones. We also have the one on State Road 9 and 22nd Avenue. So as you can see, 22nd Avenue is becoming the candidate. Then we also want you to see here the roads that have their traffic volume. The one that we were on today, which is Northwest 151st streets between 5,000 and 10,000. And here you also can see the different now citywide where all those red dots are happening. And so you can look at where to not put the bicycles or where traffic intersection safety is needed. And again, here is 27th Avenue, which is another candidate where a lot of the accidents are happening. So the idea is that we have to connect the train station with the network that we have and make sure that people have a safe way to get to Tri-Rail. Here. So we have like the crayons that yes. Mm-hmm.
Where do we have them?
Lenny, ask Lenny. Go ahead. I know that you want you can't wait.